Put on the hard hat.
Get blown out, then blow them
The
out.
Bobby Manning pendulum.
Where will it swing today?
Where will it
swing today?
It's over. It's over. No, it's
over.
over.
Well, we didn't know about this and that and the other thing. Well, now what's it going to be?
One of my least favorite Twitter expressions is this blank is drunk. But like this is the weirdest series, man. Like not only from the game to game, and we know like the 20-point swings and this and that. You don't know who's hurt. You don't know who's healthy. Tatum's out there, first bucket of the game, and he's like, ow. Grant Williams slams himself into a post. You think he's faking, and then he spends the rest of the game like holding his left shoulder. Rob Williams leaves. I think Lowry gained 15 pounds between games. Like, he's
chunky.
He looked thick tonight. Butler, he can't be right. Geez,
no.
For all
None
of
these guys look right, man. I mean,
nobody.
Butler, like you said, Lowry. We know Hero didn't play. I mean, man,
Tucker,
they should just put the series on hold for a few days just to try to get some guys back.
Pritchard's grabbing people's legs like he's a Van Gundy,
Yeah, what was that all about?
I don't know.
Playoff P, man. That's the real playoff P, Pritchard.
But all of it is just so weird. And then and some of it is impactful. Marcus obviously misses the game. Rob plays and leaves, and you never know what's going to happen there. That's not great. But so I don't know if it's injuries or for all the crap we gave Jason Tatum about scoring 10. The whole Heat starting lineup scored 18 points tonight, Jimmy. Jimmy Butler had 6. So we have these narratives like you can't be a superstar and a team's best player and only score 10 points in a playoff game. Right. And then Butler's like, hold my beer, 6 points. Miami looked like they were on to game 5, 5 minutes into game.
They seemed defeated before it even tipped off. I don't know. It's like
it was so weird.
They just knew that they weren't going to be able to hit a shot in the first quarter. I honestly wondered if they were going to hit a shot in this game. I mean, they were missing, and you got to give the Celtics defense credit. And Rob Williams played the Rob Williams.
The difference,
was very apparent early on. There it is. Yeah, good timing on that, Sebastian. All that being said, I thought the Heat missed so many little bunnies and just easy shots. So it was a combination of both. But man, you could really see how Rob it's just affecting shots. Even if he's not getting a hand on it, it's just his presence down there. What he forces the Heat to do to get shots up, and that was obviously a huge reason for the start. And starts are everything. I mean, you saw how the Celtics, the difference in this game compared to game 3.
Yep.
When they just no-showed. I mean, they pretty much took on these two teams are trading, personalities or something. But the difference tonight was the first quarter, and the game was essentially over in the first quarter. It's same story in game 3. The game was essentially over in the first quarter. I know the Celtics came back. The Heat, especially right now, they don't have the roster to make big comebacks. They just don't, especially if Hero's out. You don't have that offense. I mean, Duncan Robinson's going to come in and try to shoot them back in. I don't know if it's going to happen. Oladipo, give him credit. He's doing everything he can. But like you said, with Lowry being, hampered, Butler, who knows what's going on with him, and Bam kind of went back into a pumpkin tonight a little bit. He wasn't the game 3 Bam.
Rob effect.
Yeah, right, Rob effect. And you know what? We should talk about how, and we are, because we're literally talking about it right now, but the difference between Rob versus Bam from 2 seasons ago in the bubble to now, it's flipped a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Rob wasn't even playable in the bubble, so you really had you really had.
Think of how far he's come,
Yeah, and we were talking about that was the back and forth with each series. This is a Rob series, this is a Cantor series, not as a starter, as a backup to Tice, who was at that point the unquestioned starter, and somebody Bobby Manning thought was going to get $16 to $20 million a year in free agency. But I digress. But Rob was not ready for primetime. Rob was frigging jumping at every fake.
No, he wasn't.
He was late on closeouts, wasn't switching, just leaving guys all the time or switching at the wrong time. Everything Rob was doing just, instinctively just seemed wrong. He was just kind of like a big puppy, just kind of running around, and it just wasn't right. So yes, the factor, I went back and watched the first 5-6 minutes of the first quarter during halftime, just to kind of take in, and pay just to watch Rob.
You didn't miss anything in the second half that was
No. But like, and then I jumped right in. But I just went during halftime. I watched the first 5, 6 minutes, 7 minutes of the first quarter just to see again. And you could literally see, you just watch the Heat's wheels kind of spinning when they were getting into the lane. The hesitation, a couple times where they would have just continued on, they stopped. They ended up and they settled for floaters in the lane instead of taking it all the way to the basket. Jimmy Butler went to drive. Rob was there. He kicks out. Rob defends the perimeter. Butler shoots an off-balance turnaround jumper with Rob contesting. Everything was different. There was no easy buckets to be had there, and you could kind of feel the Rob effect. In addition, he's grabbing multiple offensive rebounds. The catches on the lobs, the Celtics threw one good lob to him. The other two were behind, and he's just one-handed catch. Almost everything that he kind of does, he did. And so it was evident. But the early impact, on top of that, I want to see a Miami Heat post-game show right now. They must be losing their friggin' minds. We scored 1 point in 8 minutes. Like, insane, think of the worst we've ever bashed the Celtics for anything. And imagine being a Miami Heat fan, watching your team score 1 freaking point through 8 minutes and be like, what the are these guys doing?
You have to. You don't want to be, and there might be there's usually some Heat trolls in here.
Are you guys here?
I don't think they controlled tonight. Y'all had 1 point in the first 15 minutes. Like, I honestly thought that they might go a whole quarter without scoring a point, without hitting a basket. That was just preposterous basketball. It's hard to do. And again, they missed a lot of bunnies. And I know that they're banged up, but man, you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you show up with 1 point in the first 8 basketball minutes of the game. Like, what the hell is going on? Or longer than that. Didn't they get to the 4-minute mark before they hit a field goal?
It was something like that. 8+ minutes in before they hit a field goal. It was unbelievable.
It had to be close to a record amount of time.
This is an interesting comment. I was on Discord earlier, and for those of you who haven't, please go check out our Discord server. We're up over 1,000 now. Active chat all day long. I jumped in early and chatted with some people, and the topic of most important Celtics came up because, before the game, you didn't know if Marcus or Rob was going to play, and then it turned out Rob did, Marcus didn't. And I swear, and I know everyone will debate this one, so there's no right answer. But in that chat alone, there wasn't a single person that didn't list of the top 3. Tatum obviously is number 1, no question about it. And then it was Rob or Smart or Rob. Just in terms of their impact, there's nobody. And then maybe Al. Jalen's the only one that's not getting mentioned. This isn't meant to be Jalen slander. It's just the difference.
It is. Come on.
It isn't. It's just simply the effect that those guys have for what the team needs.
Right.
They just don't have. They don't have things that can do what those guys do. That's kind of why. Though Derrick White acquitted himself well in the first quarter, he was all over the place. I thought he played a pretty solid first half. But the Rob effect was so immediate and impactful. It's you just go back and forth on it, and you're like, I don't know, man. He might be that important to this team. The on-off splits with him during the regular season are insane. There's numbers there. I mean, the net rating with Rob Williams on the court is friggin' bonkers.
Well, that's the thing. That the basic stat box isn't going to really be oh, Rob, this guy, Rob, he had 8 points tonight, and but it's what he does. It's his presence. It's the shot effects. It's his just ability to just go up, all those things. And that isn't a shot at. It's not a shot at Jaylen Brown. I mean, Jaylen Brown went out and gave you 40 points in Game 3, but you lost the game. So again, it's that effect that you're talking about, where you need a guy that can come in that can really actually affect winning. And they obviously need Jaylen Brown. They need points where they can get it. But it sometimes it comes at a price. So I would. I don't know what my ranking is. Obviously, I have Tatum 1.
Yeah,
I'm pretty invested. I've really come around on Smart's importance to this team over the last few months here.
Since he came back from injury and went on his "please don't trade me" turnaround run.
I've really come around.
He's been so freaking important.
Yeah, and I always knew why he was important. I'm not stupid. I get why people loved Marcus Smart, but I still couldn't fully come around on it because I thought that he was still hurting you kind of on the offensive end, and his defense was always elite to an extent, but he never really seemed to be like the shutdown one-on-one defender. And that's kind of changed recently. He takes the assignments. He can guard everybody. So like my value of Marcus Smart is exponentially risen. So he's probably number 2 for me. And then I think it's matchup based whether you want to go Jalen or Rob. They're both obviously important. And then you've got Al. So I mean, these 5 players. I mean, it's no secret why you're in the position that you're in right now. These guys have really found their stride this season. They've grown up in most cases. There are still the moments where you want to pull your hair out because they don't act the mature way that you want to see them out there. But generally speaking, the way this team's played together, I think it was Van Gundy who said it tonight. He thinks the Celtics are the favorites to win the whole thing, and he said that when they were down 2-1 in the series. So there's a lot of people, not just Celtics fans or Celtics postgame show, that are starting to believe and do believe in this Celtics team as the best team in the league.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we all came around. Obviously, they go on the run. Then you have the trade deadline. The run continues, and then they just keep killing people. And I think we all arrived at it like, healthy. Everybody's. I don't know that the Celtics. I don't know that anyone in the East.
Warriors scare me. I mean, listen, the
but
Warriors.
I'm saying I didn't think anybody in the East could beat a healthy Celtics.
Right.
But then, like, right when we're like, that's it, here we go, book your friggin' tickets to the finals, Rob went down, and then everything kind of got wonky, and now the injury stuff's just been all over the place. So it's a real war of attrition with everybody. I mean, here in the East, and I mean, and everybody they faced. Bucks without Middleton, Brooklyn, obviously.
The breaks.
The Simmons, blah blah blah, Harris, yada yada yada. Doesn't matter. Seth Curry had friggin' had surgery immediately after. Like, this feels like one of those, like, with both teams, the Celtics and the Heat right now, this feels like one of those hockey series where, like, they play, they go blood and guts 7 games, and then afterwards, like, 12 members of the team go for surgery. Like, that's what this kind of feels like. Is like everybody's. You just don't know to what extent. Where Marcus is. His leg got bent in an ungodly direction. Rob is a real wild card here because you could see it right away in that second half. He made a couple of plays, and then he just kind of slows a little bit, and then there's a blow by, and then you see him limping, and he could barely walk up the court. And then he went to the locker room, so it's not a great sign there for sure. So I don't know. The fact that they were able to put him on ice after only 18 minutes is great, but the fact that he experienced soreness and probably swelling after only 18 minutes after having missed another game. You have no idea. I mean, they said it last time. He's day to day for the rest of the way.
Might be an every other game guy. We might just be in that
Cam Neely
situation right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying for the rest of his career, but for this playoff, because you've just got games that are
good.
Every other game and every other day right now is a game. I think in the NBA Finals, again, knock on wood, but if you are looking ahead, there are some games where there are extra breaks in between the games. So you're not going every other. But right now, it's crazy. Like, these guys are putting their bodies out there. I thought Marcus Smart was going to play tonight, and it just goes to show how much pain that he really is in that he didn't. Because if anybody would play through pain, it's that guy. So that must be a really bad swelling. It just goes to show how freaking tough he is to come back into the game. After, I mean, everyone has seen the replay. This dude's ankle bent 90 degrees. Like, I know that he's playing on adrenaline, but damn, that is crazy. So
that was like this far from a Gordon Hayward. It was like if it bent a little bit more, it would just gone.
I don't know how it didn't snap. Like, what are his bones made of?
Yeah, he's nuts, man. The 2 things that always shock me every time I see stat lines: Robert Williams' blocks and Jaylen Brown's turnovers. I always assume Rob's blocks are higher. I always assume both numbers are higher, just based on eye test stuff. Like, Rob alters everything when he's in there. It really was incredible. And again, just the impact he made in such a short period of time. You really hope that he returns. We are trying to work in Sherrod Blakely. He's at the Garden right now, along with Bobby Manning, who might still be stuck in an elevator with Josue Pavon trying to get down for the interviews. Things got a little bit crowded there.
Really?
Bobby.
Bobby, I remember those days.
Bobby, pro tip: in a 30-point game, take the elevator down at like the 6-minute mark.
Yeah, everybody in a 5-point game, I'm taking the elevator down.
Yeah, it's just get out of there.
It's unbelievable.
But those guys
We'll
will
get them
jump
on,
in.
though.
We'll keep going for a little bit and hang out with you guys and talk about game 4. It's a weird one. It's a hard one to figure out. I guess, one thing you definitely want to comment on that was a huge thing in the storylines before the game, and what it turned into during the game was Jason Tatum needed a bounce back, and Jason Tatum had a bounce back. It was pretty much the one thing you could count on offensively for the team. What was amazing is through 3 quarters, the splits were 35-15 for the Celtics. I mean, they shot horribly, but Tatum was on point. Another 20-point half, third 20-point first half of the series. And that was it. You talk about just doing it when it matters. That's it. That's all you needed from Jason Tatum. Sherrod's mentioned a million times. Sometimes you just need 5, 6, 7 minutes of Tatum. You got a full half of Tatum, just being Tatum, not forcing the issue, getting to the free throw line. He had 16 free throw attempts, 2 minutes into the third. His season high was 17 for the year, and the next one was 14. So, I mean, he was
aggressive, and that's exactly what he wasn't in the last game. And the shot, you can see it, 1 for 7 from 3. I think he was 0 for 6, and then he hit that last one. So it wasn't like every shot, it wasn't like the pretty Jason Tatum game where he gets into this smooth, outside shot and everything's just easy. It wasn't like that, but he worked for it. And to his credit, he made a point to attack the basket, to get going early and get the team going in motion. He didn't just kind of sit back and wait for things to come to him. So you got to give him credit for that. Again, we've talked, they're 5-0 after losses in the playoffs. So we've talked about it after pretty much every win. They're resilient. They respond to adversity. They come on and play hard. Now, you'd like them to be a little bit more consistent in their effort and in their play. You don't want to have these massive roller coaster games. But for them to be able to respond the way they do, they don't let whatever happened in the previous game affect, them going forward. So that's been something good to see. What's up, Sherrod?
What's up, Sherrod?
Can you hear us? Uh-oh.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Can you hear me okay?
Hey, we got you. What's going on? Sherrod Blakely at the Garden, as we said, Bobby and Josue there. Sherrod, help us make sense of this game in this series.
Uh-oh.
You have to lose, and I don't understand it. This was a game where, again, this is what you expected. You would have expected if saw in game 3. Your first game back in your place, chance to really put a strangle on this, but obviously the resiliency of this team once again shined through. Big win, Jason both ends of the floor. Now we got a series.
Yeah. Sherrod, you're a little laggy and a little digital. Jimmy, you seeing the same thing?
Yep.
Sherrod, do me a favor. Try to jump out and back in, and we'll get to you in 2 seconds. You're a little bit laggy right now. Robotronic.
Wait, now? Now maybe he's better.
Wait, hold on. Let's try it again.
Yep.
Oh, damn it. We just
damn
lost
it.
him.
Damn it,
like
Jimmy.
He was just getting better.
He was.
Like
he might have been.
Just turning the corner. People in the comments are right. He's on that Brockton Wi-Fi right now. He's got the Josue going. I'll be honest. I didn't really. I couldn't hear much of what he was saying.
Oh, it was really good.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
It was really good stuff. It was really good stuff. All
right, let's try it again.
No, we'll get Sherrod again. We'll get him back.
He's here.
And as we said, what?
He's here, man.
What do you mean he's here?
You gotta let him in.
I can't.
What do you mean you can't? Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you do it.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, am I still a little laggy? Because I'm in a different location than I usually am, so that might be the issue.
You are a little laggy, but we'll see how it goes.
It's okay. 10 to 15% better than last time. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's like
there you go. Now you're good.
Better.
Now he's good.
It's like 10 to 15%.
Sherrod, we only
better.
Yeah.
What, John?
We need one good quarter out of you. That's it. One good quarter out of you. That's all we need.
You need top 5 Tatum for 5 minutes, is what you're saying.
I need top 5 Sherrod for 5 minutes. That's it.
This was this team is so damn resilient. But it drives me to put themselves in that they do. This was how they should have played. This is a really great win, not the second game back in your place after you got your ass kicked. But this thing is far from over. That game 5 is going to be a war because Miami is going to play significantly more desperate than they did tonight. Actually, the Celtics are going to be challenged to match that. But again, a bit more like Tatum. I thought he took way too many threes there when that just wasn't his shot tonight. Derrick White did a great job of setting the tone, scored the first 7 points. That really kind of put them in a nice place, nice rhythm. And they took control of this game and never let that up. And they're going to have to do that if they're going to close this thing out with a win in Miami and then bring it back here to finish them off in 6.
Yeah. So again, I hate to do this, Sherrod, but just based off of the chat, it's still coming in a little choppy. So I don't know if it's a location switch or maybe jump on your phone's Wi-Fi if the garden Wi-Fi is not doing it for you, and see if you can hop back on.
I'll be back.
In a couple minutes. Yeah, give it a shot. Jimmy and I'll we'll try to hold it down until you got to pass the ball and you got to relocate sometimes, and we'll find you.
Yeah, you don't want to force shots.
Don't get caught standing around. Just move little, move without the ball.
You can't just sit in the corner and expect to just get fed the rock. If you're not loud and clear, you might have to take a seat for a bit.
Guys, like I said, everyone's freaking out in the chat. This is a long show. It's a long game. We just gave up like a 6-0 run, and Ime called a timeout. It's not a big deal. Let's not freak out over the little Sherrod blip there. We'll be fine. We'll get back.
Regroup.
We'll regroup. We'll be fine. Just let's get our heads together.
So we were talking about Tatum for a bit, and how his once again response. Love to see it. One guy I want to mention that, again, not a stat sheet game, but Al Horford had a great game tonight.
Oh my God, what a game!
Al Horford had a great game, and Jason Tatum, walking off at his walk-off interview, and they brought up Al.
He said he's our leader.
He said he's their leader. He's a true pro. All the things we know about Al, but it really is important that Al Horford is the guy that these young guys are kind of looking up to, because he is a pro's pro. He does play the game the right way, holds himself, accountable on and off the court. Not the type of guy that's gonna, be Mr. Flashy and superstar and drama and all this stuff. He just plays basketball, and he's playing with a passion right now. He's playing because he wants to win a championship. And one of the things you could have probably said about Al Horford is he's not a vocal guy. He's a great guy and he's a great basketball player. But maybe you weren't sure if all those leadership qualities were there, because he's kind of just sort of sticks to himself. But I don't get that impression anymore. Not with this team. I feel like these guys are all looking up to Al, and they're inspired by him. And they're not only playing for themselves, but they're playing for each other, and that includes Al. I think they really want to kind of win for Al here.
Win.
And the way Al's playing too. I mean, we've been saying it. He looks 10 years younger out there half the time. I mean, 13 rebounds tonight. Didn't force any shots, clearly, 1 of 2. 4 blocks, a couple steals too, and a plus 33. I mean, that was the second highest plus minus behind Tatum. I mean, this guy is just doing everything he possibly can to get this team on track here and keep them going in the right direction. So you got to give Al his flowers for sure after another strong performance.
No, Al was great. And again, individually, yeah, right. It's you don't have the huge stats from Al, but the performance was great, and defensively he was tremendous all game long. But we talk about the game stories going in. Tatum, there's 2 major game stories that you talked about, and you want to check off 2 boxes, and the reason the Celtics won the game. I think there's 3. Rob's return and the defensive presence there was obviously huge. The other 2 were Tatum, and then the third one was turnovers. That's it. I mean, it's
completely different game tonight regarding the turnovers.
And that's what's so freaking frustrating is almost every single game that the Celtics have lost this postseason is, they played as poorly as you could possibly imagine them playing, and in many cases almost came back and snuck out a victory. And game 3 was one of those cases. You had a couple of those against Milwaukee as well, where they were just absolutely dreadful and still kind of hung around in there. They literally just need to not try to lose and play horribly in order to be in striking position in any game. Why did we all think the Celtics would win this series, assuming everybody was healthy, and win it fairly comfortably? Because you just defensively, you knew that the Heat didn't have enough firepower to be able to make huge runs and pull ahead. And you just thought the Celtics would just have more firepower than they had. You just can't shoot yourself in the foot over and over and over again. You can't have 24, 25 turnovers. You have to be that. And again, we went back, and again, you go back, you look at the game again. Oh, and we were joking about it last game, steals versus giveaways. It was about 50-50. You're going to credit Miami for having active hands and stripping the ball when people went into traffic and things like that, or through passing lanes, even though some of those passes were ill-advised. There were 6 or 7 passes that I counted that were thrown to Miami, a stationary Heat player. He's standing there. It's just like an interception where you don't see the linebacker. It's just you threw it to the guy in the wrong color uniform, and then 6 or 7 or 8 just live ball, just dribble turnovers, just blah, blah, and you lose it. I mean, literally half of those were just I lost it because I had callous disregard for the basketball. And if you cut those in half, even just the bad ones in half, they win that game. So again, that was huge. It was obviously an emphasis, still scared me. Yeah, that's a dig on Jalen, where Jalen came out and was a little bit sloppy there early too, because it killed some momentum there. Thankfully, it didn't matter because Miami couldn't make a basket. It didn't matter. There was no run to be had by the Heat there. So even though the Celtics probably should have been up, 20-0 in the first 6 minutes, Miami hadn't freaking scored. So that's it. Taking care of the basketball was everything. Again, I think if they do that and just play smart, they're probably going to still win this series, regardless of who's in, who's out.
And think about how bad they played in Game 3 and still had a chance to win that game. And obviously, Jaylen Brown dropped 40. So, I mean, that was a big reason behind the scoring surge in that second half. And Tatum really was the reason they lost that game. But he came back, he rebounded tonight. But point being, John, you go back to the Bucks series where you said, even when the Celtics play bad, they're still in the game. And now, obviously, you say, well, they were down 20-plus points against the Heat. They weren't in the game. No, but they clawed their way back. Point is, they have to play so bad to lose these games. And they did in Game 3. But if they just play their brand of basketball and just play okay ball. Again, they didn't have a great shooting night tonight. I mean, look at those stats. They had a bad shooting night tonight, to be completely honest. 39.7% from the field. They barely hit any of their
Again,
threes.
that went up. It was 35-15 after 3. They jacked that up a little bit in the fourth. But I mean, 35-15 with the splits after 3 quarters, you got a 24-point lead. It was incredible.
Right. Because it was on the other end tonight where they made their money on the defensive end, and a part of that has to do with the Heat being banged up. And again, another thing we've talked about, you got to get the breaks. The breaks go your way. That's part of getting to the NBA Finals. And people say, "Oh, well, you beat this team without this player." That happens every year, So against the Bucks, yeah, you got lucky with Middleton out. Now with the Heat, they've got a bunch of injury issues, and they've had them all playoffs. It seems like they've had a laundry list of injured players. Trying to get these guys healthy and get them out in the court. It's not been easy for the Heat to do. And it feels like they're at the point now, Tucker, Hero, Butler, you go down the list of guys that just aren't all there health-wise. And it might be another break for the Celtics going their way. You got to take advantage of it. Talking about giving gifts back. Don't give the gift back. If the Heat are banged up, the Celtics have their fair share of injuries too, whether it's Smart or Rob right now. Yeah. Don't give the gifts back. You got to take advantage of them. And that's what they just did tonight. They jumped out early on the Heat. They must have known that the guys that were out there weren't healthy. Certainly they didn't look healthy. I mean, Jimmy Butler was almost non-existent tonight. I mean, that's a player that looked like the best player on the court, not too long ago. So something's definitely up on the Heat side, and the Celtics, to their credit, are doing what they have to do to take care of it on their end.
I'm very nervously going to bring Josue on the show. He looks like it's a bit of a time-lapse video right now, so I don't know what this is going to look or sound like. So I am bracing myself for this. We're going to try Sherrod first. He's relocated. Let's see Sherrod's terrific Wi-Fi situation now. Yes.
Better? Is this better?
I'll tell you in a second. Let's try Josue.
I'm scared to say.
What is this? Day one? What's going on here? What are we doing here? We checking the Wi-Fi
coming in.
Okay, Josue's hanging.
This is crazy.
Josue's good.
No me gusta.
This is
Josue's
crazy.
good. All right, we'll let
Wait,
Josue.
shit, Josue's speaking in a different language. I think it's fucked up.
No, it's not. He's good.
I'm kidding.
Oh.
Jimmy was serious.
Wait,
No,
what?
that's English, John. John, that's not. It's fine. It's not. You don't have the SAP.
I hit the
It's fine.
SAP button. All right.
Bueno, los
While
Celtics. No.
Sherrod maintains that look on his face for a little while longer, we'll hear Josue's take.
Sherrod is either very confused or frozen, or both.
Frozen.
Yeah, I think he's the latter. No, I was just listening to what Jimmy just said, and I don't know. That's interesting because that crossed my mind in the first half. I was like, man, is Butler out? You know, is he hurt? Is he banged up a bit? But I mean, maybe that's a part of it. But I also think it was the Celtics' defense, man. I just feel like he was also like in his own head. I feel like he thought that he could just try to take things into his own hands, and even though with Oladipo having the kind of first half that he had, and he was trying to find his offensive.
I'm loving this from Sherrod.
But no one else could.
Yeah.
No one else in that Miami Heat team could help him besides, could help Oladipo, I guess, because he was the leading scorer besides Duncan Robinson. But those buckets didn't come, they weren't when this game was still in reach, for the Miami Heat, it felt like. And I credit the Celtics a lot in this one, man. They took it to Miami. And I felt like the Heat was sort of thinking that they could just kind of flip the script and go on a run. And every time they did, whether it was 6-0, 7-0 run, the Celtics were right back into it, and I feel like the Miami Heat they weren't ready for that. They haven't seen that. They haven't seen this level of effort since game 2.
So again, you're flipping the script here, and what I can't fully understand with the Miami Heat here is, were they hurt? Did they recognize early that this was going in the wrong direction and just kind of mailed it in? Did they come not prepared? And again, it's so bizarre to see this happen in a flip-floppy sort of way, every other game, just to literally just not show up. You have 3 blowout first quarter. You have, basically in this series and 1/3. Yeah. Each game has been decided in a quarter. And a lot of times the first quarter where teams have just raced out to almost insurmountable leads, and that's it, ball game. And it happened tonight. So again, did Miami come out flat? Did the Celtics take it to them with their defense and with Rob Williams there? Are the Heat hurt? Like what? Like I said, make sense of it for me, Sherrod. What do you think?
Heat had a lack of sense of. There was no sense of urgency from them at all. It was basically the Celtics smacked them in the mouth in the first quarter, and they just were like, okay, because we got what we wanted. We wanted to get at least one win here so we can get home court advantage back. They have that, but again, it's weird how this series has gone because each of the teams that has lost has kind of lacked that urgency at the very beginning of the game. And that's atypical of what you expect to see in playoff basketball, particularly between two teams.
Two veteran, poised, well-coached teams. It's so weird. That's what I mean is like you've seen this. You've seen it some with the Celtics because we've seen it this year, and you saw a lot of it last year. So you always worry, is it kind of creeping back in, those bad habits, which they mostly got rid of during the second half of the year. But now you've seen it twice in 3 games with the Celtics. And now you're seeing it with Miami as well. I just can't understand it because both of these teams, you would think that's not what would happen, that they would bring it on a regular basis. And the coaches just wouldn't allow this. And now you've seen it 4 games in a row where one team has just basically, I'm all set with tonight.
Well, a big part of this as well is Bam Adebayo, right? I feel like their approach, especially in that first quarter, was that, we're just going to keep this flowing. And the Celtics nipped that in the bud right away. I thought the play from Al Horford said it all, where they were anticipating a double, and he just blitzed it and just took the ball away from him. Like, I think the Miami Heat thought that, okay, this is going to be the new normal, Oh, yeah, sure, maybe Al will get a couple stops here and there, but that's going to be it. Like, I feel like they love that matchup for obvious reasons, that after seeing what we saw in Game 3. But, did they not anticipate Al to bounce back from that? Like, I feel like they were sort of doubling down on what happened last game and just trying to carry that over into this one. And they didn't anticipate the Celtics to have a completely different approach in the way they were playing defense.
Completely different Rob.
And I tell you what, though, the Rob Williams' presence was huge in this game in that first quarter. You could tell some of the shots that they were taking once they got a little bit of dribble drive penetration were well off the mark, and you could tell it was because Rob was out there.
Yep. Little floaters,
Yeah, little floaters that were hitting the front of the rim or hitting the back iron that,
You saw
in game
Tucker and
3.
Bam right in the first quarter. Like I said, I went
Yeah,
back and I rewatched the first quarter just to see, and they came
yeah.
up short,
They came up
and
short.
they stopped short and came up short on their shots because they knew he was lurking there. Butler got scared out of the paint one possession too, and ended up so like right away the Rob factor was very evident early. And sometimes it's almost, you're right, it's almost like how the Celtics got a little shell shocked with the way Miami Heat were playing defense, packing the paint. First few times they went there, like Tatum especially was like, this sucks. These guys are big and they're kind of in my way. I felt like Rob established that really early in this game for the Celtics, and then the Heat just didn't want anything to do with it.
No, and that's if you're the Celtics. I mean, as this series moves on, it's pretty clear and pretty obvious that the Rob Williams factor is huge. It is huge, and we knew that going in. But when you look at how they are with and without him and against this team, it's night and day. I'm not sure they can win this series in these next couple games without Rob being out there on the floor, because I think he's that impactful. And he's one of those guys that his impact is not necessarily stats based. For example, as John pointed out, those shots that are coming up short, hitting the front of the rim or the back iron, they're adapting to his presence out there, and they're not adapting well. And if you're the Celtics, that's exactly why you need Rob Williams out there to be that rim protector who's also altering shots by simply being on the floor.
Facts, my dog.
Facts, dog.
Sherrod, what was the vibe in the Garden tonight, man? What was the people come out ready to go or what?
Well, I think they were like a lot of us. You didn't know what the hell to expect after Game 3, and I think there was a little bit of kind of uncertainty as far as how this would play out. But Derrick White basically put all that to bed, scoring the first 7 points. And you're thinking, if their fifth, sixth, seventh option is hitting like this, it's probably going to be one of those nights for the Celtics. And again, they just snowballed from there. I mean, hold a team to 3 for 20 shooting in the first quarter. You're not going to lose many games when you shut a team down like that from the outset.
I think
I said, Rob had a lot to do with that.
I think I could hear like audible laughter around the Garden as the Heat were going deeper and deeper in the first quarter without hitting a basket. I mean, you could hear the laughter every time they missed a shot. It was a joke.
It was. And when Victor Oladipo was like your main primary source of offense,
right?
This isn't Oladipo from Indiana when he was like an all-star. This is like Oladipo who, frankly, is a shell of the player that he once was. But I give him credit. He showed up, made plays for them. But if he's leading your charge, you're probably not going to go far.
That's the thing. He did his thing in Game 3 in the fourth quarter. He played pretty well. And tonight he did everything he could. But you're right. He's just not that player right now, or at least anymore. I mean, too many injuries. He had I think he had the ACL, right? And then a couple other things happened to him. So that's too bad. Kind of has Kemba vibe to it, I guess.
Yeah. The Tyler Hero stuff is interesting. Him with the groin issue. Groins are real. I mean, they're kind of like those, like some of the other injuries that the Celtics have had. You don't know. It's a hard one to gauge when you're going to be ready to come back or not, because you could be feeling great and it could easily spiral into something that's catastrophic. Right? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to go in game 5.
And he's their offense off the bench. I mean, he's their instant off. I mean, 6th man of the year.
Which is fine, but the reality is it didn't factor in today because Oladipo gave you offensively what you would have gotten out of Hero, and he's a better defensive player. So I don't think it was a huge drop-off. Certainly, yeah, maybe you use both of them, but really,
I mean, he's not replacing him, though. I mean, you could play him.
Oladipo's playing a lot of Heroes minutes there. I mean, he plays considerably fewer minutes most games. He stepped it up in Lowry's absence, but when Lowry's back, if they are fully healthy, Oladipo was not getting those types of minutes, the type of minutes he got tonight. Right. So whatever. I mean, he was pretty good, but the Hero thing is interesting. There was a Twitter debate going on about whether or not having Hero hurts Miami because he's a guy that the Celtics can attack on the defensive end. I think that's nonsense. I think ultimately, Hero's a potential home run waiting to happen. He had that miserable game 2 where he was like a minus 1,000 in that game, but he's been a positive in the 2 games that he's played, and he is instant offense for a team that really doesn't have, outside of Butler when he's able to do it, but just doesn't have tons of individual offensive firepower. They have to share the wealth. And Hero's one of those guys who can get really, really, really hot and light you up. And, we've seen it.
Of course.
I mean, again, 2 years ago, him single-handedly winning games for you with his offense. So it's a big deal when he's out for sure.
It is.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was just saying, and just going back to Bam too. I mean, again, it felt like he showed up in Game 3 clearly, but if everyone around him is banged up, he doesn't seem to be self-sufficient enough to really get the Heat anywhere where they need to go. I mean, 9 points, 6 rebounds tonight. He took 5 shots. I mean, dude, if your team's banged up all around you, you got to kind of shoulder some load there. And I know it got away from them very quickly, but would have liked, if I'm a Heat fan, I would have liked to have seen him take on more of a role tonight for sure than 5 field goals. I mean, come on, bro.
I thought Al did a really good job of not letting him ever get comfortable to take shots. Like if he would have forced the action, he would have taken a ton of bad shots that more likely than not would have been misses, just like the ones that they did take. So I thought he was looking for opportunities. But again, this is where having Kyle Lowry not being Kyle Lowry hurts them so much, because much like when Marcus Smart is healthy and good to go, he can orchestrate and organize the offense. Kyle Lowry has a similar role for that team. But when he shoots the way he did, when he's struggling to get guys the ball in spots, and the other thing too that I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, I thought of all the games that the Celtics have played in this series up to now, I thought they did more matchup hunting tonight than they've done in any of the previous 3 games. I mean, they literally they were locked and loaded on when can we get Max Strus in a matchup.
Strus was getting killed.
I mean, Tatum, Jalen, Al, Derrick, Peyton Pritchard. It didn't really matter. They were making a point.
They played Strus off the floor. They played Strus off the floor.
They did. And
they played him off the floor. Minus 33 in 15 minutes. He couldn't make a shot, and he was getting demolished on defense. He just couldn't keep up. And he's another guy who's been one of these, ankle injury, will warm up with the intent to play sort of player. So, I mean, everyone's dealing with something. He'd been holding his own defensively. And one of the reasons he had been playing as much as he played is because he's not Duncan Robinson bad at defense. But he's still a guy that they hunted absolutely and just played him off. He's just, I mean bad stuff.
I'm just surprised it took him this long to really make it that a priority, because they've done it to some extent previously, but it seemed like there was a very intentional game plan to find him as often as they could and make them pay. And I'm just surprised we haven't seen more of that, to be honest.
Yeah, and this stat is stunning. The Heat starters, 18 points, 7 of 36 field goals, fewest points by a starting 5 in a playoff game since the merger.
That's embarrassing. I mean, Jimmy Butler said he didn't want to be embarrassed.
Wow.
Points. Jimmy Butler for that to that point asked about his knee and whether that's it. He said, "Nope, I'm straight. Just played bad. Got to be better." Okay. So he did not. And again, Butler's one of those types of guys who's not going to make excuses. So maybe it is bothering him, but he's not going to let you know about it, and he's not going to whatever. But Butler, 6 points, 3 of 14. This was Tatum, 3 of 14, except 10 points. That was it. That's the Tatum game from yesterday. Your best player comes out, lays an absolute egg, but for all of the starters to be as bad as they were is insane. And Bam, again, you talk about the Rob factor, but this is another one that's got to be incredibly frustrating for Heat fans, because you got that taste of it and you're like, unlocking Bam. And like, what were we saying before the game? This could be, did Bam figure it out? Did he, nope, he didn't.
No,
he didn't.
I mean, you can give Al credit, of course. I mean, and Al's been doing it all playoffs, and really been doing it all season.
It's these passive Bam games, the 5 field goal games. When Bam's disappeared this postseason, if you look at a lot of his box scores, you're seeing a lot of that. Not involved at all.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I was going to get to that. I was going to say you can give Al credit, but at some point you have to be able to make your own shots. You have to be able to find ways to be more of a factor. You can't just be like, oh well, I got shut down by a 35-year-old Al Horford like the rest of the league, I guess. But I would be super frustrated if I was a Heat fan, because now you're like, okay, well, is Bam the guy we thought he was, or was he more of a flash in the pan? I mean, we know what he's capable of on the defensive end, but he's just got to give you more offensively. So that stat with 18 points is unbelievable, and like we said, some of it's due to injury. I mean, Tucker had 0 points tonight. He's typically better than that. He's obviously dealing with something. well, we know what he's dealing with. He's been in and out already of the series. But these are the breaks that if you're the Celtics, you get these breaks and you got to take advantage of them. So they did that tonight. Now they have a little bit more momentum going back to Miami. We'll see what happens health wise. I don't know what the deal is with Marcus Smart. Sherrod, what's your you've been pretty on point with the Marcus Smart
stuff.
What are you thinking or hearing about what's going on here?
It's a different vibe this time than before. Marcus is yeah, I had a chance to see him before. After everyone had kind of headed back to the locker room and celebrate, yeah, they won, and Marcus was out here just kind of doing some things, and it didn't look like he was moving well. Did not look he didn't look nearly as well moving as I would have liked to have seen him. Does that mean he's not going to play in Game 5? No, but I'm not feeling optimistic about him getting back on the floor, which is too bad because I think they need him. I think they absolutely need him. Derrick White had a great game, but I can't bank on Derrick White going into Miami giving me that.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, White was good early. I mean, he's good, man. He was really good defensively too. He had 3 steals early in that game, and really helped. He was part of that suffocating defense that really kind of snuffed out any hope that Miami had there. But again, he started 3 for 3 and he finished 4 for 14, which, let's do the math. That's 1 of 11 the rest of the way and 1 of 8 from 3. That's always there.
He missed a lot of open threes.
It's the shot you want him to take, and it's the shot that they thought he would make more of being here because it'd be so ridiculously wide open. Those are shots. Those are quote unquote good shots. They're just again, you're only asking for White to knock them down at a 32, 33, 34% clip. These 1 for 8, 1 for 9, games. These are terrific. None of those are forced. They're all they're shots you worked for. You moved the ball and it was an open look. It just didn't go in there. So that's always a concern that it can catch up to you. But White, in terms of all the other stuff that he does, certainly early in the game was terrific. And he did come out hot. He scored the first 7 points, with 3 for 3 field goals, but the defense was great. And he was, he did all the Derrick
White stuff that Derrick White people want to remind us about. So we get it.
We know. We get it. It's just better when some of the shots go. You just want a couple of them to go in. It's just better when it happens.
Typically, you'd like to see some of those.
Yeah. I mean, when he's making shots, it just makes an offense that can already create a lot of open space even more open. Because now all of a sudden, the guy that you have the least concern about scoring, now all of a sudden he becomes an issue. Now all of a sudden you have to actually respect him a little bit out there. And I thought with Miami, I think they were just shell-shocked at the start of the game. Where, Derrick White scores 7 points in the first, 4 or 5 minutes. Derrick White goes 20, 30-minute games without scoring that many points. And they came in a variety of ways. They came on layups. They came on mid-range. He was just significantly taking advantage. He was taking advantage of what the defense was giving him, something I don't think he does enough of, to be candid. But if you're Miami, you're not really sure what the hell to make of this Celtics team at this point, because you've done a lot of good things against them, but they've exposed you in certain areas. It's a matter, can you mask your weaknesses better in Game 5? Because Strus is a great shooter, but he's a turnstile defensively. And the sad part is he's not even your worst defender. Your worst defender is Duncan Robinson, who you benched. The Celtics, I think what we're going to see in Game 5 and 6 and possibly 7, if there is a Game 7, I think we're going to see them go after Strus a lot more than we've seen the first 3 games. I think it'll be the blueprint. I think is what we saw in Game 4, because clearly he can't guard Tatum or Brown or Al or whoever the hell the Celtics have there on the switch. And I think they're going to just try to create space for that matchup to just milk that matchup and force Miami to adjust.
Yep. One good piece of good news here, just as we're kind of watching the post-game commentary pouring in. Rob Williams talked to reporters. Typically people who are injured in a, totally, irreparable way, or ways that you want to hide from people, aren't made available oftentimes to the media. They just kind of go about, their thing. So, hoping with Rob, it was just kind of, somebody even said he was rubbing his right knee and not the left knee. And I don't know there. I thought it was the left knee that he was kind of hobbling on. But if you're going to look for a glimmer, and I certainly am, because again, You know, I only want the best things for Rob. You know,
Sure.
you definitely any sign of good, you know, anything like that, I think is positive. So he's out there talking, and he's talking about, I'm looking for.
We're really reaching. Well, he's talking.
No, I mean, he said it felt good. That what I'm saying is he went out there. He's going to get injury questions, and he immediately said, "Actually, knee feels pretty good." But see how it responds. Yada yada yada. So that's again, that's a slightly positive thing. If you're trying to hide stuff, usually you hide the player because you don't want him to go out there and flat out lie to people. So again,
wrong.
right?
Yeah.
So
And
that's
right. And the fact that he only played like just under 19 minutes,
he said he's
I love
confident
that.
he's playing. For his part, he said, I feel good. We'll see how it responds. I'm confident I'm playing. So again, that's good. We like that.
And I love the fact that his minutes were under 20 because I think, in a game like this where you have it in such just a commanding control, you want to minimize his minutes as much as possible. He put in his work in the first quarter, part of the second, and in the third, at that point the game was so out of hand, you really didn't need him. So I'm hoping that he's good to go. It certainly won't be fatigue. That damn sure won't be an issue for him in Game 5. It'll just be whether that knee or knees are healthy enough for him to go out there and do what he does.
Yeah, and what he's saying here, and again, what he may said the other day is he's experiencing some swelling each time. It's just whether or not they're able to kind of get, just simply from activity, whether
Kind of
they're
reel it
able
in
to
a little bit,
control it, reel it in to the point that it's not limiting him. So again, we're looking for little rays of hope here. Rob, as important as he was tonight, that would be great, obviously, if he's good to go. But this is going to be, we're going to be white knuckling it with him the rest of the way here. And Ime's made it pretty clear that, each day they got to monitor him and see how he feels for the rest of the way. So that's what it's going to be there. Again, Sherrod, not super confident in Marcus, but we will see there. But again,
come on, Sherrod. We were hoping that
you know how much I love seeing Marcus out there. I mean, and again, I hope he's out there, but I just don't feel great about it. Let's put it this way. The level of confidence that I had that he was going to come back from that midfoot sprain is nowhere close to where I'm at now. I was pretty sure that he was
dead on
with
the midfoot. You're like, he's coming. He'll be back in Game 2.
But this one, I think this one is much more of a coin toss because my understanding is that there's still some swelling. And when you're talking about ankles, you can't play with a swollen ankle. You just can't do it. And so they need to get that under control. And if they're able to do that, they've got a couple days now to get that. So hopefully he'll be better tomorrow than he was today. But again, just watching him kind of move back and forth, after the game today, he was not moving great, not nearly as great as he was moving after Game 1, when we all thought that maybe he's not going to be able. Some people thought he would be gone for the series. It is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, this is as difficult a time as we had kind of getting a handle on the Milwaukee series, where we did feel like no game ever had anything to do with the next game, and it really was a battle. Each game was a total, totally different than this series because both teams came out and just punched each other in the mouth repeatedly, making it really hard for either team to really gain much momentum up until the very end of that series. Whereas this one, again, you've just got teams just not showing up. So I mean, if you're looking ahead to Game 5 here, Sherrod, what are you feeling in terms of did the Celtics do anything tonight that is permanent, or is it always going to be not just permanent, meaning did they figure anything out? Is it anything beyond just simply showing up? Is there something they solved that Miami was doing, or is it just simply one team showed up and the other didn't, and now you just have to wait and see who shows up for Game 5?
I think right now, if you're looking at that Miami Heat team, to me, the two key players for them are Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo, because Bam, I think he goes as Kyle goes as far as facilitating. He's the guy that benefits most by having a Kyle Lowry out there. Bam, as you guys pointed out, he's not the greatest one-on-one creator, but Kyle does a great job of getting him the ball in positions where he can be effective and do some great one-on-one work. That did not happen tonight, and part of that had to do with the fact that not only Al doing a better job on Bam, But Derrick White, I thought, did a really good job on Lowry, just never allowed him to get comfortable. When Jaylen Brown and Tatum got switched out on Lowry, they did not allow him to get in any kind of flow or rhythm as a shooter or as a passer. And that's what you want. You want to take the head of the snake, and if you can't chop the head off, at least strangle it so that it can't wiggle around. And I thought they did a good job of just really minimizing Kyle Lowry's impact, and in turn, that limits what Bam can do. Like I said, I picked the Celtics in 6, and I haven't seen anything in this series that makes me believe otherwise. I think Tatum is going to have a monster Game 5, because if you really look at his play in this series, he really hasn't had that signature Jason Tatum game yet. And I think it's coming. I think it's coming. He has not shot the ball well from 3-point range, which to me tells me that he's going to have a game where he's not going to miss much at all from there. And
what
I think
was
that's
different
going to be
about
Game
him
5.
tonight? Why was he more successful tonight?
I think he was more successful because there was better spacing. I thought the play of Derrick White really opened things up for him. And again, matchup hunting. I thought they did a much better job of finding him matchups, particularly with Max Strus, that he could take advantage of. And Miami, I thought, did a really poor job of rotating that because they were just hoping that he would just have one of those previous Jason Tatum not making open shot types of game. He's too good of a player to take that gamble. In Miami, I think they will adjust. I think they will be blitzing him a little bit more. And Tatum, the smart move is get rid of the ball quick, force them to go back into their set defense and get the ball back, and then take advantage of the mismatch.
Isn't it always the key? And haven't we been saying that about Tatum forever? The longer you, I mean, and it's so obvious, but the longer you hold it, the more dribbles you take, the more you let people set up, the more you let everybody else kind of, the doubles and the help kind of figure out where they're going to attack, the more you get everybody else on your team stuck standing, which means all defenders who are in the paint, who are ready, for whatever's coming from you, know exactly where everybody is, and know when to jump out at those guys because they're not moving either. Everyone's just sitting around watching you. It just grinds it to a halt. You got to get it, 1 to 2 dribbles and go, or move it, and that's it. And when he does that, he's obviously so much more effective. And when he doesn't, it's a mess. But I'm super pleased with how he played because when Smart was out and they started a lineup of White and Rob, I know Rob creates his own gravity there because that lob threat is there. And so he does make an impact offensively, but there's just no shooting. There's just really limited shooting out there. So I thought I was worried that the attention would be so heavy on Tatum that he'd run into one of those things where he'd have a slow start sort of game. But the opposite happened. It was actually interesting. Brown came out slow, got 2 quick fouls, came out at about the 5-minute mark. That's normally Tatum's time to come out. Normally he's the guy out at the 6-minute mark, comes back at the end of the first. So Tatum played the whole first quarter. I actually think that helped him kind of continue to get into his rhythm there. I actually have never liked that. I never liked that substitution pattern. It's just my thing. I know why they do it and how it works out for the rest of the game, but he is a bit of a slow starter. And when he tends to come out at that halfway point in the first quarter, sometimes you just never got him a chance to get him going. And I think that's part of the reason why he has some slow starts. So I like the fact that just fortuitously it ended up this way where Tatum ended up playing that quarter and really got into a rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, he had 12 points in the first quarter. He only had 10 in all of Game 3. So, I mean, He was in a definite more aggressive mode and just more opportunities for, as you point out, John, just having a little bit more runway to play with there and just kind of do what he does well. But again, I was so impressed with just how they made a much greater priority to hunt the matchup that gives you the best chance to score. We see the benefits of that every damn game, and yet this was really the first game where it felt like they embraced that they made it a absolute 1A priority to find a matchup that works best for us, and let's just go at it and force them to adjust. And if they don't adjust, we'll keep milking it.
So Tatum's at the podium right now, so I'm seeing some tweets just on him talking, and a couple of them that stood out. Jason Tatum on Coach Udoka. He holds everybody accountable from the top to the bottom, has an open door policy. It's great for the group and what we're trying to accomplish. So that's not surprising to hear. We know that Ime is pretty up front with all his guys, and it sounds like they appreciate that. It's Nothing is, being said behind that person's back or being kept in. It's all out in the open and, tell it like it is. So we've definitely seen that this year. And then the other thing that Tatum said, just talking about, I think, how they're always, these swings from a bad loss to a big win. He says, when you win a game, you can relax a little bit. He says, we have to have the mindset going into game 5 that it is a must-win game. Coming in, we all felt that tonight. So that was Bobby Manning tweeting that because he's at the game, obviously, and he's in the Tatum press conference. Maybe Josue's there too. I don't know where he disappeared to, but those guys will probably have some more.
Josue died so Sherrod could live. Only one of them. There was only enough Wi-Fi for one of them.
I guess we'll take that trade for tonight, right? Thank you, Josue.
Yes.
It's the playoffs. It's about sacrifice.
Yeah.
Team player that Josue.
And then another thing from Tatum. I'm mad after a bad game, but then I sleep it off. I'm a big believer in you can't change what happened. Regardless of whether I have 10 points or 46 points, the next day is the next day. So, good attitude. What do you want to hear?
Can work with that.
Memory.
Can work with that.
Yeah, for sure.
What you want to hear? Bobby Manning is sprinting to get on this show before I end the stream.
Is he?
Yeah.
He better be. You better be.
Sprinting.
Is he going to be sprinting to the plane to get to Miami too?
We'll see.
We'll see. I won't give him that yet.
We'll see.
I hope he doesn't have to sprint to the plane. That's just such a bad look.
He's got to earn it in the next 5 minutes.
He's had some travel issues in the past. Somehow got stranded in Brooklyn. I mean, it's like really not.
How the hell does that happen?
I don't know. He's like, I missed my flight. I'm like, dude, it's first of all, it's an hour.
Brooklyn. Yeah, by the time you get to the airport, that's the same amount of time it takes to get home, buddy.
Right. You could have just hitched a ride in the time, man. But
yeah.
He's learning.
Yeah. Outside of that, what's so funny is like the couple of times we've passively mentioned Jaylen Brown tonight in a not positive way, people have gotten upset. If you really want us to talk about Jaylen Brown honestly tonight, you'll get very upset. So why don't we just
5 for 20?
Why don't we just skip it, guys? Okay. If you can't handle the drive-by shots, I don't think you want a deep dive analysis on Jaylen Brown's game tonight. 20. Okay. It's just let's just skip it.
The turnovers were down.
Don't feel aggrieved because we're not saying nice things about him tonight. You really don't want us to get into it.
5 for 20. He missed 75% of the shots.
5 for 20. It didn't seem to get in much of a rhythm. Had 2 fouls in the first. That's why they subbed him out.
Plus 23, dude.
He missed 75% of the shots he took. 75%.
Yeah. He tried to get early Jaylen cooking. And it just didn't take. And then he got those couple of fouls. It kind of took him out of his game a little bit there.
It did. And I
he started 0 for 5, and I swear he turned it over twice. He's only credited with the 1 turnover on those back-to-backs.
I thought so too. I thought he lost it a couple times, like in the first couple minutes.
Yeah. But regardless, not a great game, but it turned out not to matter. So that's why we're not spending a lot of time on Jaylen Brown.
And to his credit, I mean, he did make a couple of big shots that just kind of, because remember there was a point where, Miami, they were still pretty far in the back of the, behind, but they were starting to make it interesting when they got down to like 19 or 18 around there, and Jaylen made some big shots, and you give him props for that, but I can't get excited about a guy that misses 75% of his shots.
No, but you know what though? He's had plenty of good performances, so it's not.
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the rare days.
Plenty of good ones. Let's save it for another one.
Speaking of getting his time again,
Bobby, what?
Bobby Manning.
Bobby, tell us what you've been in the interviews here. Anything stand out?
Yeah, hit us with some words. Oh God,
no, we're just not gonna do it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Drop some science. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. Say something.
All right.
Say words. Say words about basketball.
Words.
We got Derrick White game here. Finally, life out of Derrick White. This is huge from him here tonight, and He talked a lot at shoot around about being aggressive and being confident, all the different stuff we've heard from him, and it hasn't translated to this point. Going on that 7-0 run to open this up, it's like a sigh of relief for all the fans.
We will
for the
be
whole
talking about
team.
that for a while. Where were
No,
we?
it's just
Yeah.
it's just
Go
a
for it.
it's just a
Celtic
it's
boy.
a
Where
it's a
were you
bait,
when
it's
he
something to
scored
build
7 in a
off
row?
of.
It was a
It's
huge. If anybody needed it, Derrick White needed it. Stepping in for Marcus Smart and just how he'd been and his confidence issues with some of his shots, having his first 3 go down and being like a really important offensive contributor in the first quarter where the game was decided was huge.
Yeah, and it set a tone. They needed a good start in this game. I feel like every game in this series, the team that's gotten off to a better start, aside from game 1, has got one going away. So that they really just exploded out of the gate in this game. The energy from everybody, huge. Rob looking springy and active defensively, shutting down Bam in this game. An 18-1 run. So it was the longest drought a team went on to start a game since 2009 on the broadcast, I believe they were saying. So you just can't say enough about the way this team responds. I thought this was the loss last game that would finally put this team in a shaky place. Now, I wasn't going to go ahead and pick the Heat. I did that last round. I made a mistake picking the Bucks after a bad loss.
Picking the Bucks.
I've learned.
You picked the
He's
Bucks 3 different
learning.
times last round.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I was waiting for someone to bring that shit up. All right.
No, I picked them after game 5, but
After game
I wasn't going to do it this
2,
time.
after 4. Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to do it this time. I still look at the Heat, and
You
I'm
were
just
close.
like, yeah, I was close.
You
But
don't like the Heat, Bobby.
I just don't
You never
get
liked
it.
the Heat, though.
Yeah.
He never liked the Heat
They
from the beginning of the playoffs, though. Yeah.
He
I
doesn't
mean, what
like
did
them.
their starter scored what in this game? 17 points?
18 points.
18.
Like,
Don't-
you
don't
just
cheat
look
them
at
out.
it. Bam, 0 in this game. Butler, you barely noticed he was out there. And Victor Oladipo's doing all your scoring, 16 of your first 26. And you're just sitting there with 46 midway through the game. No one really wants the ball. No one's making any shots. You're just on this massive lull to start a game, 0 for 14. And I just look at their offense, and I'm like, all right, they'll hit some shots sometimes. You'll get a good Butler game here or there. You got your one good Bam game out of the first 4 here. And it just doesn't seem like there's much of a ceiling to that Heat offense. Like, they'll have some good nights. Their defense can rock you in certain spots. But the Celtics' offensive ceiling, as you saw here, was just miles and miles beyond what the Heat can be on their best night. Now, I can't disrespect them because every time I do it, they come back and just punch you across the face with a gritty effort. But I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
I'm just happy you
Do you guys get it? Like, are you seeing something with the
Yeah, I
Heat that
get
I'm
it.
not?
I get it. I mean, Bobby, I'm surprised you would say that. After I mean,
I don't really
maybe
get
not
it.
because after tonight, but I get what you're saying. But you have to think about how pretty much someone you didn't expect to step up has done that every game for the Miami Heat. The other night it was Kyle Lowry. You didn't think you would even see Kyle Lowry this early in the series, but he made a
I
heck of a
did tell
difference. for them,
Sherrod
right?
pregame. I
They've
was like,
got-
there's no way Oladipo
Victor
goes off. Is there
Oladipo,
anything-
exactly. You said that to Sherrod, and 6 hours later, he had the best game of his postseason. You know,
Yeah, but-
the other night, what was it? Game 1 when they went crazy and they knocked out the Celtics in a big way. You know, Tyler Hero going off. I mean, that could happen again. I mean, that's the thing about this Miami Heat team. I mean, we've been saying this since the beginning of the series. I mean, they're deeper than the Celtics. Doesn't mean they're more talented, but they're definitely deeper. So they have guys that can have nights like
That's it,
this.
right?
But
it's not just
no,
that.
it's not it though. That's not just it, Bob, because you don't know how Bam's gonna respond. Is he the old Bam all over again? You know what I mean? Like, where did that 30-point or whatever, you know, where did that huge double performance come from? You know, it could come back again. You know, this is a long series. It's only 2-2. It's not like the Celtics are. It's not like Miami's on the brink of elimination. That would be a different scenario for these guys. You know, I still like the Celtics' chances. I still like the Celtics' chances of winning this series, but I mean, again, that's the thing about this series. Though. Every game, there's been a wild card. There's been a curveball thrown. You know.
I agree with you on that, Josue, but it's not because of the Heat. I'm worried about the Celtics' health. I mean, you just see Rob laboring around out there.
Well, that's another curveball.
That
Yeah.
18th minute.
But
Smart. You don't feel
nobody
great
knows.
about it.
Everybody looks hurt though, both sides right now.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
but
a
this
good point,
defense
John.
looks very different when Rob's not out there.
Oh
The
my
Celtics
God.
defense, obviously. Like, I mean, I don't have to. I'm preaching to the choir. I'm telling John this. But
Even Rob, what
it's
percent
true.
would you say he was? What
It's
percent
so
would you say
true.
he was at tonight, John?
I don't know. Honestly, early looked a little
What
better.
you mean?
but
You don't know.
could
That's
see-
your guy.
No, meaning percent wise, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's like full. Yeah, I don't think it's the full Rob Spring, but it's when he's out there early in the game before the knee started kind of feeling a little whatever. I thought he looked pretty good. He looked pretty agile. He looked springy. I don't think he's flying through the roof there, and I think he's picking his spots too. There's certain times where he's contesting and he's just kind of living with kind of standing straight up and being there, and other times he'll go up and get it,
and it makes a difference. That's my point.
No matter what, it's making a difference when he's there. Yeah,
you get whatever percent he was tonight, and it still made a massive impact. But ginormous.
To the point of the heat you were making, Bobby, the reason let's pretend both teams are healthy. The thing is, we just don't know who's bringing what to the table here. It's obvious Lowry's not himself, and even though Butler said he didn't, it's not the knee. I think there's something there because he's just in a couple of games so far looked pretty ineffective. But let's just assume everybody's healthy. The Heat have two of those guys who you friggin' hate to play, who always beat you, and you look at them and you're like, how? In Lowry and Butler. They got two of them. Then you throw PJ Tucker in there, who's another dog who just makes things happen. And those are just three guys that beat you in ways that you're like, damn it, that guy beat me. I don't get it. And because they're so crafty and good at doing what they want.
It's the story of my life.
But they're so they really are good, man. And then on top of that, you have Bam and a Hero. And a Hero can and I know they're not perfect players, but
they're scrappers.
It's beyond scrappers. There's talent and a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things on that team. So I like Miami. I actually thought people were underrating them a little bit coming in, but I thought Lowry might be useless, there. And so I didn't think we'd see much of him. What we've seen hasn't been, he'd made a difference, obviously, game 3. He just looked terrible tonight. So it's again, the injuries is such a wild card here because I don't know which player. I mean, like I said, we said it early, but Tatum's grabbing his shoulder. Grant looks like he dislocated his left shoulder.
White was hurt at the end.
White, everybody's got something. Thankfully, amazingly, Jalen, who I was super concerned with last round, grabbing at the hammies almost after every game at some point, where there was is that going to come up? Actually, you haven't seen any of that from.
Especially in Miami. Yeah.
You haven't seen any of it. I was a little worried there. He's like the healthiest guy, and I thought entering the playoffs, that was a little bit of a concern when he said it was getting a little grabby. But I don't know. I like Miami, but it's the same thing with the Bucks. What do you expect, Bobby, in Game 5? What can you expect?
Freaking clue. No freaking
clue.
Honestly,
in this series.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of the vibe that Miami, and this might be jumping the gun. I just felt like they almost waved the white flag tonight. I'm starting to feel like
I thought that after game 2, Jimmy.
I know. That's why I'm probably jumping the gun here, but it just feels like the Celtics can overwhelm them when they are healthy enough to play. Like when Rob does play and can give you 20 minutes. And, and I'm not even talking about Smart. Let's just assume Smart's out. I still think the Celtics are deep enough and talented enough at the top with Tatum and Brown leading the way. In the way Al's been playing, if you can get healthy enough, Rob, like I said, 20 minutes, 25 minutes at most.
Yeah.
I think they have more than what the Heat can do to match them. Right now, the Heat, they seem to be kind of, I don't want to say treading water, but they've been in and out of these injury report situations. I mean, all playoffs, whether it's Hero, Tucker, and just
who loves this series, Jimmy?
Good role players. What's that?
The Warriors. They're probably watching this series just laughing right now. They're like, whoever comes to the finals with us is just going to be limbs hanging on by a thread.
I know.
Half the team on the injury report. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have a week off before they even have to play because they're sweeping the Mavs. So either way, they're sitting pretty.
But you think it's I almost view the Heat might be viewing this entire series like a tennis match. It's a 5-setter. You go down 2 games to love in one set, and you're like, screw it. I'm not running around chasing balls here. I'm losing this one. Let's just get into the next game, and we'll come in full tilt here. It really felt like they flipped the switch to off early. Early in this one.
That's why. Yeah, that's how I thought. This game was just not one of those games where you're just like, all right, let's just get through the rest of this game. This one's not over. The Heat do not have anything in the tank to make any sort of comeback, whereas the Celtics did because they did bring it to 1 point, and a lot of people thought they had a chance to win that game, obviously. And the Heat, never got that impression that they were gonna like fight back in this game and make it interesting. So that's kind of why I'm still like riding like the Celtics train here. I still think that they're a more talented team. I still think that they have more of the pieces in place to. Again, the Celtics played horrible in Game 3 and still had a chance to win that game in the end, whereas the Heat never had a chance to win that.
Well, I wonder how you feel about this, Sherrod, because this is what I sense on that Heat side, and I think Jimmy brings up a good point there, them packing in early. How much is Tyler Hero missing this game? Just, all right, we have a 2-1 lead. He's 50-50. Let's let him get this night off, and he'll be right for Game 5. Felt the same way with Butler in the last game. Like, we're up 26. He's not feeling right. We can survive the second half and let him sit down here. On the Celtics side, it feels like there's really a sense of urgency. Like, get Rob out there. Smart, it felt like he fought like hell to get into this one, and luckily he didn't play because it didn't seem like he could play here with the shape he was in. And that's just one thing that mildly worries me. Like, are the Heat just being a little bit smarter with their injuries and their health right now? And are the Celtics just kind of a step behind, needing to push through stuff?
Dirk put it up here. Heat starters played 40 fewer minutes in the C's tonight. So,
That's
I mean, talking about Tucker, who's hurt, Strus, who got benched. You can go down the line, a couple other, Oladipo or whatever. No, he didn't start. Who am I thinking of?
Why do they do this in the NBA? Why do they do the, 3 games off, 4 games off between games in the early rounds? And then as you get deeper into the playoffs, this isn't a Celtics thing or a Heat thing. You get deep into the playoffs and you make them play every other day for the rest of their lives. Like, it makes no sense right now.
TV, man, they want to have a game every night.
I know, but this is when you get to this point where and I get it, but like, holy crap.
Yeah,
like,
it
sucks. Yes, and yes.
They're trying to wean out
every night. Obviously, I understand the answer
why. They're trying to wean out the older guys, the older guys in the league.
It's bananas. We lost. What happened, Bobby?
Bobby didn't like TV talk, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, we know the answer why. It's just asinine. They want to dominate the television. They want to be all over the dial. That's fine. But then you get crap basketball and guys falling apart and getting hurt, and it's just it's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate because everyone loses. Yeah, okay, congrats. You have the TV slot, but you're watching a product that could be so much better.
It's unfortunate
if you didn't just drive these guys into the ground at the end of their season too. So I mean, they've already played the full regular season. Now we're in the third freaking round here, and these guys are you can see what they have to do just to get rosters out there. I mean, they're scrapping and clawing to compete. And like you said, John, a night like tonight, maybe the Heat say, listen, we're playing hurt already. We're down by 20. This game's over. We're not even trying to surmount a comeback here.
Yep.
The Celtics needed this game. Right. The Celtics had to win this game. If they lost this game, this series, it would be a matter of not if, but when it was going to end in Miami's favor. So they should have played more. They should have played their starters more. They should have played with a greater sense of urgency. But now that it's even 2-2, are they able to bring that same sense of urgency to South Beach? Are they going to play with the same level of desperation that we saw in Game 2? Because Miami is going to be better. 1, because they're home, and 2, because, again, they got their asses kicked. And what they've shown is, like the Celtics, they don't like that. When they get an opportunity to get back on the floor, they're bringing it. So the Celtics, they're going to get as close to the best version of the Miami Heat as possible in Game 5. Are they up to handling that?
Unless everybody's hurt. Interesting comments just looking around. Derrick White was talking, and I don't know if you guys were in on it. It is interesting how much they're talking about the amount of pep talks that the guys are having to give him. Rob spent a lot of his press conference talking about Derrick White. Derrick White's talking about things that Marcus Smart said to him at shoot around. It's very clear that the Celtics kind of recognize what's going on here with Derrick White, where he's having a bit of a crisis of confidence in terms of like, what is it you guys want me to be, or what am I supposed to do here? And a lot of the commentary tonight is about, you do you, man. Just play your game. Like, don't worry about like what's going on around you. Like, be aggressive, take it to the, but make a shot. Yeah. But also make a shot. Right. No, but I mean, it's obvious they're like telling him, like, because I mean, last game was bad. in terms of like he looked like he was trying to hide, offensively and not really take any risks. Every time he'd get into the paint, he'd just kind of circle back around. Really wasn't doing a lot there. And he wasn't, being aggressive, wasn't looking for it. Tonight more so. And obviously, again, when that shot isn't falling in the end, fine. But he's still got to take it. He's just got to be him. And you have to live with the results,
Yeah. But I like to see the Celtics do that though. Like that's exactly
they should do that. That's great.
That's what he needs. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not gonna tell
lift
a
him up
of his caliber to change his game and do this or do that, especially team mid-season. So and look, Ime knows that. He may spend enough time in San Antonio to understand something like that, and
Deuces. And they know he's a better player too, though. They know he's a better player than what he's been, better scorer than what he's, showed so far.
And
I think
it's
a lot of averages come into play here.
I think it's telling the way Ime talks about him, Jimmy. I mean, it's very uplifting. There's not a lot of criticism. There's not a lot of down talk. Or he should be doing this. He should be doing that. He keeps shooting. We know he's confident. We know he does other things. It doesn't have to be the scoring that gets him going. And, there's a lot of talk around the team about his confidence. Like that's a real thing that they're worried about when he's in a slump of this degree.
They've talked a lot about it.
It's yes. And, behind the scenes too, it was a real concern down there in Miami. And, just all that uplifting. I think Rob, as you talked about, John, noticing that maybe having some trouble adjusting to the team, to the new location mid-season. I think that was a conversation as well.
Go ahead and name your kid after my kid. Totally fine. Is that going to make you feel welcome? Do that.
Yeah. So I had a brief conversation with Derrick this morning at shoot around, and he was saying it's got to be aggressive. I've been passive. I got to come out. I got to be aggressive. I've been trying to get other guys involved and do the other stuff, but you just got to be aggressive. And that's what he did early on. You saw the up fake, diving inside, going downhill every time. And that's part of it too, right? Like he just doesn't have the 3-point shot. So you got to, I don't say abandon it, but 8 even in this game's a little too much. Get downhill, go with the secondary dribble drives, keep the ball popping and downhill toward the basket. That's what he's great at. And you just said it, Jimmy. Like they know who he is as a player. They know what he's best at. They know the positions he's best suited to succeed in. And it almost felt like having the ball more was even a big impact in this one with Smart out. Like he was just able to do more with it.
Yep. It's
he seems to have a good.
Here's the keys. Go. There's nothing behind him at this point. So I mean, you have to play with that when Marcus is out.
He can get to the rim too. Like there was multiple times tonight where he blew by his defender, but he gets kind of. I feel like the aggressiveness needs to come at the rim more than just like shot taking. I'd like to see him go up harder at the rim. I mean, he still makes the right decision.
He's just not really much of a leaper,
I know that, but sometimes I'd like to see him, go draw.
It's crazy though, Sherrod. I mean, he had some monster scoring games with the Spurs. You just look back on him, and I know he had a bigger role, and that always plays into that. But it just felt like he was a different guy there. Like that's why I was so excited to get him. Remember deadline day, John? I was like waving the flags, and they did it. And it just hasn't been what I've expected overall.
I remember.
Well, you're right. I mean, he had a bigger role in many respects with San Antonio. But remember, that team wasn't built to win a championship when he was there. So he was a bigger fish, basically, in a smaller pond. And whereas now he still has a prominent role, but the expectation of him being more consistent is greater. And I don't think he has adapted to that as quickly as they would like or he would like. And to me, one of the big surprises, and I talked with a couple of assistant coaches about this who are familiar with him, is having gone through Popovich's system for all those years, there's a certain toughness that, from a mental standpoint, you build up to survive that. And it's almost like they have to remind Derrick that you're a lot more mentally tough than I think you sometimes think you are. Just remember where you came from. Remember how you built yourself into being a player that a team like the Boston Celtics coveted, to the point where even at a time where they're looking to try to, minimize costs and all that, they brought you into the fold with multiple years left on your contract. That doesn't happen for a lot of teams that are looking to win a championship, particularly when you talk about adding a player who is more of a role player as opposed to one of your top 3 or 4 players.
Yep.
Well, I like that you said that, Sherrod, because Ime talked about that tonight too. Like everyone thinks Pop and Ime are the same, but yeah, he had to remind Derrick when he got here, we're gonna foul a little bit more here. Pop says never foul. We're gonna be a little more physical. So I don't care if you pick up fouls, you got to be more physical. I almost wonder if it's the same thing on the offensive end. Like are the Spurs just so obsessed with protecting the ball, keeping the turnovers low, that he doesn't feel like the freedom and the looseness to take some risks here? Because Lord knows the Celtics have the ability to get loose with the ball and you take some risks and get downhill and, be more aggressive on the offensive end too.
Josue, is it your birthday right now?
Yeah, what?
It is.
I'm muted.
I muted you.
It was, but I appreciate it.
It was, but it's no
What?
longer.
Yeah, it's midnight.
Oh, it's still your birthday, bro. You're awake. It's still counts.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know my rules. The day's not over until I go to sleep.
Happy
All right.
birthday, Josue. Happy birthday,
Oh,
bro.
appreciate
Happy
it.
G Day.
Well,
Happy
I'm
birthday,
asking
Cam.
I'm asking him if it's his birthday, and today he sent me his birthday date for me to apply
Yo,
for
what are the
finals,
chances
for
of that?
finals credentials, and I didn't
Yeah,
even
I
look
should've-
at it.
You didn't notice?
I didn't notice it was today. I was just blindly. I was like, I just want to fill out this form, and I just took the numbers and I plugged them in.
I thought you knew you didn't say anything. That's
No,
funny.
and I
He's
was
probably
like,
waiting for you to be like, "Happy birthday, man."
it's like it's
Yeah,
right
John's like,
here.
That's
It's right. He just said to me 5:23, and I was like, thanks, dude, and I just plugged it in.
It was
That's
like the
messed
first thing in the
up.
He
morning.
must have been
too. I
like,
was
what the fuck? Right. I just needed it early. And I was like,
Alright.
what's your birthday? Tell me now. He's like, shit, it's
Yeah.
today.
Damn.
Sorry.
Look
Happy
at the
birthday,
calendar,
Josue.
bro. Look at your phone now.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Exactly.
it, guys. Thank you.
All right,
Hey, I don't
let's-
mind. I
We'll
don't mind
celebrate
working
in
on my
Miami.
birthday.
This series
You know,
is going 7.
Let's let
John.
Josue
It's
have
hard
the
to-
last. Let's have Josue have the last word on his birthday.
I mean, I was gonna say, look, if
Walk
the
us
Celtics
out.
are playing, if the
Yeah.
Celtics are playing on my birthday, that means they're in the middle of a deep playoff run. So I don't mind working on my birthday. But at the same time, though, this isn't what I expect. I expected the Celtics to come out and win here, but man, what a win! What a way to send a message before going back to Miami. And like Tatum said, let's see if they can do the exact same thing over there, in the sense of their approach, their effort, their energy. Yeah. Tatum talked about how after this game, how for some reason after losses they respond this way, like we've seen them do over and over again. And somehow they're gonna try to do the same exact thing after a win. Like that's the goal here between now and Game 5.
All right. No one wants to do it.
Well
I'm going to
said,
drag you
birthday
guys
boy.
into it. Let's
What are you
go.
about to say
Come on,
right now?
everybody.
We're not saying
Everybody.
happy birthday.
Happy
No.
birthday to
Oh, no.
you. Come on. No, I know none of these guys
Thank
want to
you,
do
Bobby,
it, but
I
come on. What are we
appreciate
going to
that.
Yeah, you know what?
No one's
We
gonna
lost
sing to him
Sherrod.
tonight?
We lost Sherrod.
There we go, Jimmy. Jimmy's the singer.
He is a
Give
singer.
us a good give us
You
a
should
good
have had
rendition,
Jimmy. You
Jimmy.
should have had Jimmy do it with a guitar.
I didn't know it was his damn birthday, man. I just found out now. I would have been all ready.
Oh man, I'm gonna show up.
I
to
got
Jimmy
you
next-
birthday,
Birthday,
next
show.
Josue. Come on, Jimmy.
Hey.
Close it out.
Josue.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Bobby's got
to
the voice
you.
down.
Hey, there we go.
Jimmy's
John, you didn't even say one word, bro.
I just did.
Oh,
I sang the last line. Jimmy's a crooner, though, huh?
I've been known to croon here.
We
and
did
there.
it, Josue. We got a partial one.
He croons.
Appreciate it, Bobby.
No
Thank
sweat.
you. Thank you.
I
That's the
got-
first
I
one
got-
I've
I got
heard
you.
all day.
Next time-
First time I heard it all day.
Birthday beer on me, man. Birthday beer on me.
Appreciate you. Sherrod just
I
said
know,
happy
I know
birthday.
Bobby's too cheap to
He
dig into
wish-
the pockets, but
Like
I
he
got
didn't
you.
want to.
Yeah, we still got a lot of guys here, but we're gassed, and I think you guys are too. When there's viewers saying, "All right, guys, end it. We need to go to bed," I think that means let's call it. So we are going to call it.
Yeah,
Thanks
when they
again.
say it.
Thanks again to everyone who joined us and who hung for the whole time. Really good audience and
Appreciate
super
you.
fun to have a win. It's nice to not be angry. Sherrod's back. We did
Is
it.
it, John? Do you really mean that?
Yes, my God, I get so worked up. I feel better about myself as a person the next day after Celtics wins. The losses take so much out. Like,
Oh, what do you
green
feel
teamer.
accomplished?
no, it's
Oh,
just
I thought
like
no. This is the way I read. This is the way I understood it. I thought you meant you feel so great because you challenged them so much that they responded to your challenge.
no, not one bit. It's just the
why.
next day you wake up
Yeah.
feeling crappy, just like, oh God. And just like the wait tonight, the wait to today's game was interminable. Just play the friggin' game. Yeah, I just,
These
I
start
Did I really
times. Come
say all
on.
these
these start
things?
times, when you've got kids and you're waking up early in the morning and you gotta like, oh
Oh,
my
this was
God,
funny.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, dude.
I don't want to wait
John,
this
that's
long.
Your day
No, you
starts in
start
like 4
thinking about
hours.
it's not even
Your
being
day
tired.
starts in like 5 hours.
You
Yeah.
just start
John, I
thinking
thought-
about the game early, and you're just like, let's play the game, you know?
That
The
was
boomer
peak on
struggle is
Saturday.
real, man. The boomer struggle is real.
Real.
I'm just saying.
John,
Yeah, I
I
don't gotta worry about that.
Yeah.
John, I thought of you when
Get
Rob
those
was
naps
like,
in.
my-
Naps are key.
John,
Rob
I
was
thought
like-
of you when Rob was like, my son was at the game tonight, man, but this is way too late for him. This is way past his bedtime.
Good father.
Right, and that's your guy too. For him to say that was funny.
I love Rob.
I was thinking the exact same.
Rob's post game, he's become so comfortable. It's a different story for another time. Just the way he kind of interacts now, he's just a totally different guy. You could just see
true.
like all his whole just kind of persona and like his confidence is just completely different, year over year. So again,
his personality is showing. I love that
it's
about
awesome.
him. Yeah, no,
he's a
that's
funny
good
guy.
point.
Yeah.
Like this year is the first time he started. He started the whole. He yelled out "twist" at the end of the
Twist!
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that because it shows his personality, and obviously, it resonates. With people, and everyone's laughing. When he was talking about naming his kid the same name as Derrick White's kid, Hendrick. Like that was funny. Like, to have everyone laughing.
Yeah. You're not supposed to do that, by the way. But anyway, that's another unwritten rule. You can't do that. You can't steal your buddies.
But did he know though? I think you have.
Oh, he
He
knew.
said he didn't know.
Oh, really?
And to Derek's
have to
credit,
not know.
Derek is a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. Huge. So it shouldn't shock anyone that he named his
Based
kid
off of the hair alone, right?
Why didn't he just name his kid Jimmy then?
because Hendrix is way cooler
Hendrix
sounding
is
than
a
Jimmy.
badass name.
It
It's
is.
a great name.
That's an awesome name.
Hendrix White is pretty cool.
It's a cool
It's a
freaking
cool
name.
ass name.
But can Hendrix White name 3 Jimi Hendrix songs? Because if not, then he should change it.
Well, considering he's like, I don't know what, 3 days old, probably not.
All right, well, you better get on it.
Yeah, the little
All
voodoo
right.
child. Yeah. Anyway, good night, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out. Anyone wants to continue the chat? Some of us might hop over to Discord and let's see what happens over there. We've been known to chat it up. CLNSmedia.com/Discord. Like I said, very active early heading into the game. Yep. And throughout the game, and there's a bunch of people on there right now talking. I was on there a little bit earlier. Really lively chat going. So if you guys want to hang out and keep the discussion going, head over to there. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channels for all your Celtics needs. Bobby Josue will have some post-game reaction and commentary exclusive to that channel that you haven't heard on this show that they're going to do a little bit later on. So check that out over there. In the meantime, we will see you guys on what day is it? Monday. We'll see you on Wednesday in Miami. Once again, the Celtics beat the Heat 102-82 in a game that was over early. Series tied at 2. We are back in a couple of days. Good night, all.